What's up everyone, and welcome back to Top 5 Central. You might not think about it, but every day just waking up out of bed puts you at risk of never coming home. I mean, look at this guy. He's not even paying attention and came that close to never seeing his home again. The same thing goes for celebrities, with Post Malone almost crashing his plane after losing its wheels. So today we're looking at the 5 scariest celebrity close calls where we might have lost some of the greatest. Make sure to click like and comment one really close call you've had. One person gets pinned for everyone to see. But with that said, let's jump right into it. Number 5. Post Malone. Now, here's the thing. Post Malone is famous for being a pretty chill guy, but I think even he would have been a bit freaked out by this conversation. I mean, he was just trying to fly to the UK for his first England show ever when he almost missed it, and for a pretty scary reason that I'm sure all of you are absolutely terrified of. Basically, he took off from New Jersey and things went wrong almost straight away when 2 tires broke off the plane during takeoff. That's a scary thing to experience, but it's actually way worse than it sounds because it meant that the plane had no way to land again safely. So what exactly happened? Well, the plane ended up diverting to New York instead of the UK, making an emergency landing on the runway that took some insane skill from the pilot. Thankfully though, he landed safely, and the most damage he had to deal with was his ego. Turns out he had tweeted about the flight going wrong, and when he finally touched down, some fans even were telling him over Twitter that it would have been funny if the worst case scenario happened. Not the best thing to tell someone after a near-death experience, is it? Number 4. Demi Lovato. Here's the sad truth. A lot of artists do drugs, and it means a lot of famous and talented people die tragically when they accidentally take things too far. This isn't that kind of list, and the person we're focusing on thankfully pulled through, but still, drugs are bad, kids. Demi Lovato started out as a Disney kid, so her image was super innocent, but since becoming an adult, she's always been pretty open about her drug use. I mean, she's made it clear to her fans that it's something she's constantly fighting with, and she's even written a few songs about her journey to stop relying on drugs and alcohol. Anyway, apparently her battle to beat her addiction isn't something she's done with quite yet, because she ended up in the hospital fighting for her life after an overdose. It was a super close call, and she very nearly didn't make it, but in the end, she made a full recovery and even released a statement on Twitter. The statement basically said that she's still trying to quit and that drugs aren't worth it, which considering what she went through is definitely a fair statement. Number 3. Leonardo DiCaprio. Most people never come that close to dying before they actually do, and near-death experiences only really happen once if they happen at all. However, some people are just unlucky enough to have to deal with almost dying on a regular basis. And one of those unlucky people is none other than your favorite, Leonardo DiCaprio. It sounds crazy, I know, since the dude should have enough money to protect him from most things, but he's actually ended up in a lot of situations that could have ended him for good. For example, a great white shark jumped into his cage while he was diving in South Africa, and he had to literally play dead until it went away. Not only that, but he was once on a plane looking out of the window when one of the engines broke down and the whole plane wing exploded in a fireball. All that's pretty intense, and it's even crazier that he survived both times. But let's be real, if you've been in as many death-defying movies as he has, real-life danger probably isn't as scary as it should be. Number 2. Kanye West. Nowadays, Kanye West makes the headlines for all sorts of reasons, whether that's weird political statements, his relationship drama, or even just his adorable kids. When he was just an up-and-coming rapper though, he made the news for something way more serious, a car crash that could have ended his career and his life. That's right, just a couple of weeks after signing a record deal, Kanye was driving home from the recording studio super late at night, and he'd accidentally fell asleep at the wheel. The next thing he knew, he crashed straight into a car heading the other way, and the accident left him with some horrible injuries. Both of his legs are broken for a start, which left him unable to walk properly for months, and his jaw was shattered as well. The craziest thing is, it didn't even stop him. He pushed through recovery and wrote a hit song about the experience. In fact, if he hadn't been involved in that accident and written about it, he might not even be the star we know today. Okay, here's our first honorable mention. Now, it's not just normal celebrities that have to deal with terrifying close calls. YouTube celebrities have also had their fair share of near-death experiences. I mean, Deji, aka Comedy Shorts Gamer, is usually most famous for being KSI's younger brother, but in 2016, he went viral for a whole other reason. Basically, the dude managed to total his car, and it was the second car he had owned ever in his life. I'm not exactly sure how the crash happened since he obviously doesn't want to go into detail in the video, but the aftermath looked pretty serious. Like the roof of the car was completely caved in and the whole side was buckled. The windows and the headlights are smashed in and both airbags have been triggered, which is probably the reason he managed to walk away. As for his own injuries, he ended up with some pretty gnarly bruises and needed 9 stitches, but all things considered, that makes him pretty lucky. It could have been so much worse, but hopefully it was enough to make him treat his third car a little bit more carefully. Here's our second honorable mention. Tanner Fox is another YouTuber who ended up in a pretty severe car crash, but his injuries took a little longer for him to recover from. I mean, that's not really surprising since he tweeted after the accident about falling off a 20-foot cliff and nearly losing his life. As for the full story, he was driving late at night with 2 friends when he came to a turn, and he completely lost control of the car. Like he hit a sign which spun the car even further out of whack, and then the car rolled off the edge of a cliff and landed on its roof. Thankfully, everybody in the car survived and were found screaming for help, but this is one of those situations where he really shouldn't have made it. I doubt he went driving at night for a long time after getting out of the hospital, and he probably avoided tall roads as well. Number 1. Jason Statham. So lots of actors pretend to do extreme things for action movies, but when you're brave enough to do your own stunts, there's a chance that something could go seriously wrong for real. I mean, that's what happened to Jason Statham on the set of The Expendables 3, and it almost caused filming to come to a pretty tragic stop. Basically, he was test driving a 3-ton truck that he was set to work with later in the film, and the brakes in the vehicle completely stopped working. That by itself is pretty freaking traumatic, but it gets way worse, because the truck raced straight off the edge of a cliff and 60 feet into the sea. Jason had to swim out of the armored truck as it went down and down into the water, and if he had been a second slower, he would have been impaled with it. Thankfully, the doors had already been taken off, but any other cast member in that situation would have definitely died since they were all wearing heavy gun belts and weren't Olympic-level divers like Jason. And there's our video on the top 5 scariest celebrity close calls. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button down below and subscribe so you see every time we upload a video. Also, we're back in full swing with 4 new uploads every single week. I promise. Click on screen now and check out Sunday's video where we show the scariest trains in the world. It's so terrifying, I bet you can't make it to the number 1 spot. Anyways, with that said, thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.